are back on MorningLine. We're talking this morning about the history of the Confederate flag, the controversy over it. Two great guests this morning, I think, with differing opinions, but having a civil conversation this morning. Gene Andrews, Sons of Confederate Veterans, is on with us this morning. Also, Matthew Walker, one of the original freedom riders and a civil rights advocate. And gentlemen, thank you again both for coming on. It's been a pleasure listening to both of you. Let's get to more phone calls here as we continue our conversation. We'll go to Don. Hi, Don.
Hello?
Hi, Don. Go ahead.
You can find good and bad and anything you want to look at. Because that blood what killed them people don't mean that flag's bad.
Yeah, you know, I mean, a lot of people say that, sir. What do you think? I mean, is it fair to say, okay, this guy committed this crime because of the Confederate flag? And I'm not sure that's what you're saying, but a lot of people thinking, well, you're blaming the flag for what this crazy man did.
That's a very good point. The fact that the flag flies today, and in so many cases proudly, is an indication, as I said earlier, of people having gotten away with major crimes. And if the flag indicates people having gotten away with major crimes, it's only going to encourage people to do crimes today.
Okay, see, you're thinking, and no one really knows what this nut was thinking in his head, but you could say, okay, yeah, he sees the flag, and they got away, and what they did, and I'm going to use that as a symbol to commit this atrocity.
What slave owner was ever prosecuted for the many crimes that they customarily committed?
There were laws in the South about mistreating slaves, and there were court cases, and you can look this up. There were court cases in Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, and the whites were brought in and prosecuted for mistreating slaves. And just as common sense would dictate to you, slaves are valuable property. If you know somebody today that can walk in and write a check for a Mercedes and then drive it out, that's the type of person that could own slaves. And you wouldn't do something to that valuable a property just because you owned it. Now, granted, there were people that did. But you're talking about Forrest. Forrest was a slave dealer in Memphis. Yet there were people that he would not sell to in the tri-state area of Tennessee, Mississippi, or Arkansas because he knew they would mistreat slaves. He also made every attempt that he could to buy back family members that had been separated. I'm not defending slavery and say we ought to go back to that, but there were people that saw the institution, couldn't get rid of it through the Constitution. The United States Constitution wouldn't say anything about it. And in fact, let me point this out. The United States Constitution finally passed an amendment, the 13th Amendment, to guarantee slavery. And you're saying, no, wait a minute. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery. That's the second 13th Amendment. The first 13th Amendment, known as the Corrin Amendment, was passed in February of 1861 as an attempt to get the 7 seceded states back into the Union. Didn't work. 4 northern states passed it. They would needed the 7 southern states that had seceded to come back in to make it a constitutional amendment. The Constitution never addressed slavery. They didn't want to touch that issue. But the northern United States Congress passed the first 13th Amendment to get it back in. And the southern states said, we're not buying that. We know this is a scam right here. We're staying out.
Let's go to Bonnie. Bonnie, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Bonnie, go ahead.
Honey, the people, all this stuff has been going about the flag. The flag wasn't the problem. The problem is with the man. He was evil. The flag had nothing to do with it. And they talk about racism and all this, which there is racism in the United States. But the black people have come a long way. They're senators, they're mayors, everything. They have come a long way from the slavery days. And I don't think it's fair to blame the flag for something somebody evil did.
Blaming the flag is kind of a long stretch for that. I watched the news when the riots were going on in Ferguson and seeing the people looting the stores, burning the stores, stealing. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, we can't call them that. They were undocumented shoppers. So the undocumented shoppers were raiding these stores. I saw one of them with a St. Louis Cardinals baseball cap. Now, does that mean the Cardinals should be banned from going into Cincinnati and playing in Cincinnati?
Well, the baseball cap and the Cardinals don't have date back to the history of what we were talking about.
Yadier Molina, or a terrible person that's going to steal, or Adam Wainwright, or
is it fair then? I mean, we touched on that then again, and she again.
But that's what you're doing. You're taking one isolated incident and saying, let's get rid of everything everywhere.
But he has said that the Confederate flag fosters racism.
It fosters racism, and legitimizes racism. In other words, if it's okay to fly the Confederate flag, then those things that happened during the period that the Confederate flag originated, and those things that happened during slavery, because of slavery, are somehow okay. It is not okay to say that we blame the flag for what this guy did. Nobody is blaming the flag for what this guy did. People...
The news media does. Okay.
I don't think so. I think people are blaming the association with the flag for what this guy did. In other words, he wrapped himself in the flag, posed for the picture and so forth, and that just tells us that he felt that he was with a large number of people who were in favor of the flag when he went and murdered those 9 people in that church. I believe that the popularity of the flag only encourages people to act out their anti-black sentiments, tendencies in the first place, and that it would be more difficult for people to express anti-black views, racist views, if the symbol of racism wasn't permitted so widely in this country. I think it's a step in the right direction for us to ban it in terms of public.
And since we only have 3 minutes left, I wanted to, I think he's thinking that, you know, looking toward the point where it gets banned from the public buildings. What do you think is going to happen, just each of you, in the coming weeks here? I mean, are you anticipating that the flag will continue to be under attack? For how long, or do you think it's going to survive?
Well, as long as it's going to be a hot button item that can stir up a lot of controversy, of course. And like I said before, the news media and the liberals, the Democrats, never let a good tragedy go to waste.
Don't call the news media liberals, all right? We're supposed to be impartial. Would you say that this program has been impartial this morning? I hope you would, because if you don't, you're wrong.
I hope you don't get fired for being impartial.
Okay, well, I'm not. I respect both your opinions, so don't.
The national news networks are not.
Well,
not impartial.
in the setting you're with us here, I hope you feel this has been fair.
I think it has.
Okay.
And I commend you for that. And like I said, I hope it doesn't get you fired.
It won't.
But you look at the national news media, and you can't say that about them.
Okay, but your point is it'll continue, but you believe the flag will endure.
I think so, and I certainly hope so. It's our history.
And you, sir?
I think that one of the tactics of people who are on the losing side of an argument is the old ad hominem argument. In other words, not to address the issue, but to address those who have raised the issue, to address those who oppose their point of view, just as Mr. Andrews is attacking the news media and not really dealing with the fact that this flag represents the history which no rational person would do nothing but be ashamed of. The former governor of Georgia, Zell Miller, once said that those days represented by the Confederate flag were nothing to be proud of. And that's what we need to do as a nation, is to face the fact that slavery was evil, wrong, the worst crime, self-crimes against humanity in our history, and that we need to acknowledge that and do what's right as far as the implications of slavery is concerned, and make America as great as its founders intended.
Mr. Walker, thank you for coming on today. We appreciate your point of view.
Thank you.
Mr. Andrews as well. Thank you both for coming. You know, we could do this all day long. And the calls, I have to apologize, we didn't get to all the phone calls, but perhaps, you know, we'll continue to discuss this, and the two of you might be kind enough to come on again if we see new developments, if that's okay, because I've really enjoyed this conversation. I learned a lot from both of you. Thank you both for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. I'll be back with a programming note about tomorrow right after this. Stay with us.